April 5th, 2006. Ball, Louisiana. A police officer pulls over a man jogging along railroad tracks. The officer has a description of a convicted murderer who escaped hours earlier. He is looking directly at him, and he lets him go.
You know the bad thing about it? You're matching up to him.
Come on. That sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That man is Richard Lee McNair, one of the few inmates known to have escaped local jail, state prison, and federal custody. 3 facilities, 3 escapes, each one harder to explain. What caught him in the end wasn't a federal task force or a brilliant detective. It was something so small, so ordinary, that McNair, after 18 months of near-perfect planning, never thought to check for it. But before any of that, there was a man named Jerry Theus. He was 29 years old, sitting in his truck in a parking lot, eating ice cream, waiting for a friend to finish work. He never saw Richard McNair coming, and the bullet that killed him would follow McNair for the next 40 years. November 17th, 1987. Minot, North Dakota. Richard McNair was burglarizing a grain elevator operated by the Farmers Union Elevator Company. He'd parked his car at a nearby bar, thinking it wouldn't draw attention. What he didn't expect was company. 2 men were at the elevator that night. The plant manager, a man named Kitzman, was inside working late. His friend Jerry Theus was outside in his truck, engine running, radio on, eating ice cream while he waited. When McNair encountered Kitzman inside the building, he didn't say a word. He just started shooting. Kitzman was hit multiple times. He collapsed to the floor, bleeding, and made a split-second decision that saved his life. He stopped moving. Played dead. When McNair walked out, Kitzman dragged himself to a phone and dialed 911. And during that call, while he was on the line with the dispatcher, he heard more gunshots outside. "I think he's shooting Jerry." He was right. Jerry Theus never saw it coming. He was sitting in his truck, windows up, waiting for a friend. McNair walked up to the truck and shot him. Jerry Theus died in that parking lot. 29 years old, a wife at home, gone. After the murder, McNair drove home and waited for his girlfriend. She worked at Trinity Hospital, the same hospital where Kitzman was brought for his gunshot wounds. When she asked why McNair seemed nervous, he told her there was a killer loose in Minot. She had no idea she was sitting next to him. Shell casings from a storage unit McNair had rented matched the shootings. He was arrested. 2 life terms plus 30 years. His brother Phil, who still owns a tire shop in their hometown, said, "He was a good guy that I always admired, until he made bad choices." After the conviction, his family stopped speaking to him. That murder would define everything that came after. February 1988, Minot Police Station. McNair had been brought in for questioning. He was handcuffed to a chair in a room with 3 detectives. Standard procedure for a murder suspect. What the detectives didn't know? McNair had something in his pocket, something small, something you'd never think twice about. A tube of lip balm. While the detectives talked, McNair worked that lip balm against his wrists, using it as lubricant, twisting and pulling back and forth until, pop, his hand slipped free from the handcuffs, and he ran. McNair bolted from the interrogation room and led police on a foot chase through downtown Minot, up a 3-story stairway, burst onto a roof, surrounded. One option, a tree branch extending toward the building. He jumped. The branch broke. McNair fell 3 stories and hit the ground hard, injuring his back. Police recaptured him easily. But here's what mattered. With nothing but lip balm and 10 seconds of opportunity, a murder suspect nearly escaped from a room full of detectives. The authorities were beginning to understand what they were dealing with. McNair was convicted and sent to the North Dakota State Penitentiary in Bismarck. High walls, armed guards, professional security. For most inmates, this would be the end of the story. For Richard McNair, it was just another problem to solve. He wasn't watching for a way out. He was building one. 3 years of watching the facility's rhythm, when attention dipped, when routines repeated, when doors behaved the same way every day. He became editor of the prison newspaper, Model Prisoner, professional with the warden. If this attempt failed, he would never see general population again. Solitary, forever. 3 years of behaving perfectly, for 1 minute of opportunity. October 9th, 1992. McNair and two other inmates signed up to watch a screening of The 10 Commandments in the prison's education room. As expected, no one else showed up. The movie was Cover. They disappeared into the building's infrastructure and came out on the far side of the fence. Freedom. The two inmates who escaped with McNair, one caught within hours, the other within days. McNair, free for 10 months. But his face was already in every law enforcement database in the country. Every system, every alert. The question wasn't whether they'd find him. It was when. He grew out his hair, dyed it blonde, stole cars, drove from Arizona to West Virginia, burglarizing along the way. Freedom for a convicted murderer doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like waiting. Every siren could be for you. Every cop car could be the end. 10 months of looking over his shoulder. And then it was over. Arrested trying to break into a car dealership in Nebraska. But McNair did something strange after his recapture. He got himself transferred. First to a maximum security facility in Minnesota, too hard to escape. Then he staged a sit-down strike that got him sent back to North Dakota. Then another transfer, to a federal prison in Louisiana. His official reason? It was closer to his parents' home in Oklahoma. Richard McNair was positioning himself exactly where he wanted to be. Everyone else was just reacting. April 5, 2006. United States Penitentiary, Pollock, Louisiana. McNair had been inside for nearly 2 decades. He was assigned to work in a manufacturing area, repairing old, torn mailbags. Day after day, sewing and fixing. But the whole time, his mind was working. The pallets of repaired mailbags were shrink-wrapped and forklifted to a warehouse outside the prison fence. And McNair realized something. What if he was inside that pallet? He constructed what he called an escape pod, a concealed space inside a routine shipment. On the morning of April 5th, he climbed inside. Around 9:45 a.m., prison staff forklifted his pallet out of the secure area and into the warehouse. Then they went to lunch. By late morning, McNair was outside the fence line. He knew the prison wouldn't realize he was missing until the 4 p.m. count. That gave him 5 hours. His plan? Get to Alexandria, steal supplies and transportation, and disappear. But his escape had already triggered a response. Every police department in Louisiana had his photo. Every highway patrol was on alert. 5 hours of freedom. He'd used 4. And then a police cruiser appeared. This footage has been viewed millions of times online. It's used in law enforcement training academies. And it almost ended Richard McNair's run 4 hours after it began. McNair was jogging along the railroad tracks near Ball, Louisiana. He didn't see the cruiser approaching. A line of trees blocked his view. By the time he noticed Officer Carl Bordelon pulling over, it was too late to run without looking guilty. So he did what Richard McNair always did. He talked. Bordelon steps out of his cruiser. McNair approaches, calm, friendly, slightly out of breath from jogging.
What's your name?
Robert Jones.
Robert Jones?
5 minutes later, Bordelon asks again.
Jimmy Jones.
Jimmy Jones. 2 different names. The officer doesn't notice. The radio crackles. Bordelon looks down at the description of the escaped inmate. Looks back up at McNair. White male, 5'10", 170 pounds. White t-shirt, 3 seconds. That's all it takes to end 18 months of planning.
You know the bad thing about it?
What's that?
You're matching up to him.
McNair doesn't flinch, doesn't show a flicker of concern.
That sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They both laugh.
Come on.
For 10 minutes, McNair's entire world shrank to the space between himself and that officer. Every word was a wire he could trip. Every gesture was a tell. He gives a normal man's story. Work, motel, jog. The prison's photo was 6 months old and grainy. And critically, the prison had told police they weren't completely sure McNair had actually escaped. That hesitation cost them everything. They shake hands.
Good day now.
Be careful, buddy.
Thank you.
Richard McNair jogs away toward 18 months of freedom. Officer Carl Bordelon stayed with the Ball Police Department until his death in 2015 at age 51. He never lived down that traffic stop. But the people who knew him said he was a good cop who made a judgment call that didn't work out. It happens. For the next 18 months, Richard McNair became a ghost. On April 13, 2006, just 8 days after his escape, U.S. Marshals added him to their 15 most wanted list. America's Most Wanted featured him 12 times on television, 9 times on radio. His face was everywhere. $25,000 reward on his head. But McNair was always one step ahead. He crossed into British Columbia from Washington State just 2 weeks after escaping. When RCMP officers in Penticton confronted him about a stolen car, he didn't try to talk his way out. He outran them across an open field and disappeared into the trees. The officers didn't realize who they'd been chasing until 2 days later, when one of them was watching America's Most Wanted and recognized the face on screen. What made McNair so hard to catch wasn't luck. It was systems. He stole vehicles only from car dealerships. He'd worked as a car salesman and knew exactly how predictable their security was. He avoided anything that could quietly report his location. He drove white vehicles. Everyone has white vehicles, nothing conspicuous. He moved under false names and stayed just plausible enough to avoid a second look. He monitored all media coverage of himself. He watched America's Most Wanted religiously. Whenever a new episode was scheduled to air, he'd stock up on food and fuel his vehicle, stay low for a couple of days. He even taunted the authorities, small, pointless gestures that reminded them he was still out there. But running gets exhausting. Every town looks the same. Every motel bed feels like a trap. But the marshals were closing in. They'd tracked his pattern. The dealership thefts, the route through Canada. By month 6, they knew he was in Canada, 3 days behind, then 2, then 1. McNair stopped sleeping through the night. Every white van on the road looked like a ghost of himself. Every cop car was a reminder he was running out of road. October 2007, New Brunswick, Canada. McNair was driving a white cube van with Ontario plates. He'd tinted the windows himself in a park in London, Ontario. He'd done a bad job. An off-duty RCMP constable spotted it. Expensive van, crappy tinting, homemade, suspicious. The next day, a 6-week rookie named Constable Stéphane Gagnon spotted the van in downtown Campbellton. Low-speed car chase, foot chase. This time, McNair didn't get away. 18 months, 2 countries, 12 episodes of America's Most Wanted, $25,000 on his head, undone by a bad window tint, and a rookie who paid attention. Richard Lee McNair was sent to ADX Florence, the Alcatraz of the Rockies, the most secure prison in the United States. This is where they send the inmates that other prisons can't handle, the ones who are too dangerous, too escape-prone, too unpredictable. For 5 years, McNair was confined to his cell, 23 hours a day. No physical contact with other inmates, meals through a slot in the door, 1 hour of solitary exercise in a concrete room. ADX Florence houses inmates the system can't afford to misread. McNair was one of them. His family never visited, not once in 37 years. His brother, the one who'd once admired him, stopped speaking to him after the murder. So did everyone else. In November 2022, McNair was transferred to USP McCreary in Kentucky. Still maximum security. He's 66 years old now, and in his letters from prison, over 3,500 handwritten pages to a Canadian journalist, McNair hinted at a 4th escape plan, one he developed during his years at ADX Florence but never attempted. He's never said what it was. Maybe he's lying, maybe he's not. Jerry Theus has been dead for 37 years, a man in a parking lot, waiting for a friend. McNair has spent every one of those years trying to escape what he did. He never will. He escaped 3 times. He only needed 1 mistake to fail. The prison only needs 1 mistake to let him try again.
I promise you I'm not no damn stressing escape.
You'd have done run by now.
Have a good day now.
Be careful, buddy.
Thank you.
That Dashcam footage is a case study in social engineering from a convicted killer who refused to stay captured. Drop a comment. Could you have spotted him? Subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.